Brent and Raylene Worthington have never been to a doctor. Neither one of them. Brent and Raylene Worthington did not deny medical treatment to their daughter. They never felt that it was needed.
That's defense attorney Mark Cogan arguing in court that an Oregon couple believed they were taking proper care of their child. This is The Best Defense. I'm Jami Floyd. Carl and Raylene Worthington are charged with manslaughter and mistreatment for the death of their 15-month-old daughter, Ava. And when the toddler became ill, the parents followed the teachings of their church, the Followers of Christ Church, and did not call a doctor. Instead, they called in other church members to pray and lay hands on the child. When the Worthingtons believe they were well within their rights not to seek traditional medical care, Oregon prosecutors do not. Joining us by phone now from Portland, Oregon, is Mark Cogan. He represents Carl Brent Worthington. Thanks for joining us very much, Mark.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
And we want to be clear, we know that your client prefers the name Brent, his middle name, and that's what we've been using throughout the course of our coverage, although I guess as a legal matter, Carl is his given name. So let's talk a little bit about the case. How important is the portion of the case we're looking at right now, your cross-examination, I have to say it's quite brilliant, of the medical examiner?
Well, that was a very important part of the case because the state's evidence was built around the assertions and the allegations that were conveyed to the state's experts on the part of the medical examiner. And this presents our first opportunity to demonstrate to the jurors that the case is a lot more complex than the prosecutor is trying to assert.
And we have a lot of questions from our viewers along the following lines. Is the prosecution of the Worthingtons selective? Is it some sort of religious persecution? Or are they prosecuting this case because they really think there's some sort of criminal intent here? Do they really feel that they have to put this to a jury? What's the political pressure on this prosecutor's office?
Okay, well, I'm not going to speak for the prosecuting attorney, obviously, but what I would do is I could refer you and your viewers to the legal pleadings that we filed with the court, in which we demonstrated that this is a case of selective prosecution, that the Worthingtons and their church are being singled out, and that a different standard of justice is being issued by the government and by the prosecuting attorneys as far as the Worthingtons are concerned and their church by comparison to the standard of justice that applies in the community as a whole. And
can you say a bit more about their history with doctors? I know that you said in your opening statement that the Worthingtons themselves, the adult Worthingtons, the parents, did not see doctors. So clearly their decisions with regard to Ava, their daughter, were consistent with their own decisions as to their own health. Say a bit more about the family's decisions before this tragedy.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Worthington are in nearly 30 years old, approximately. They've never used a doctor for themselves. Their parents have never been to doctors. Their siblings have never been to doctors. Their children have not. And they've practiced their faith consistently for several generations within their church here in Clackamas County, Oregon. They're very consistent about that. However, there are people within their church who have used doctors, and those people are not ostracized or shunned. There's freedom of choice within the church. I think the church has a preference for not using doctors, but no member is punished or thrown out if they choose to use a doctor.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, not just in Oregon, but across the country, as you know. At what point does a parental right stop and the state's right to step in if it feels a child is in danger? kick in, and the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized the fundamental right to parent, but also, of course, the state's interest in protecting children. And it's never really been resolved, so these cases come up over and over. We've had several cases like this one on our show. I have a good question here from Cheryl, and I'm really curious about your answer. If you were to take religion out of the picture and the parents just said, I do not believe in doctors, would that be a defense as well?
Well, I think it would. I think that it was very interesting. You can read the legal pleadings that we've posted to our client's website, which is worthingtondefense.info, and your readers can download our pleadings from that website. It's very interesting that we did not try this as a case of religious freedom. When it was litigated pre-trial, we made arguments that our clients were shielded by their privileges and religious freedom protections under the Oregon Constitution and United States Constitution. But in litigating this case to a jury, we're not trying this case as a case of religious freedom. We're trying this case as a case of two people who loved their daughter dearly and wanted to do everything possible to help her, and that they acted reasonably. That they did not commit a crime. They provided reasonable medical care to their child.
So really, Cheryl's question goes to the heart of your defense. It's just the parent's right to make decisions about the welfare and medical treatment of their child.
Well, I think it does, and indeed, all parents make those decisions. Every parent can appreciate that it's not a simple thing. The decisions we make for our children, these are not simple things, and for the government to come in and second guess us in the decisions we make for how we raise our children, that raises some very deep and troubling issues, I think, for all parents.
Yeah, really, really fascinating issues. Mark, I know we have to let you get back to the good work you do of defending the citizens of Oregon. I have a final question for you, because we're at the very beginning of our coverage of this case. What would you want our viewers to keep in mind as they watch the case unfold? We're in the prosecution's case in chief. We've yet to get to the defense case, either of your presentation or Raylene's case. But what do you want our viewers to consider as they see the facts come into evidence?
Well, I would ask that people keep an open mind. This is what I always ask of our jurors. When they hear the prosecution case, they hear the state's witnesses. Their testimony seems to suggest certain things at first glance, but then upon cross-examination, their testimony takes on a different light. And then when the defense finally gets the opportunity to present witnesses and for the defendants themselves to testify, that gives the case a totally different dimension.
Great. Good advice in watching any case. And I want to remind viewers of the website you